Hello, I'm Luna, an astrologer and tarot reader of over 8 years, and today I wanted to take a look at Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift's marriage. So how we're going to do that is we're going to take a look at their composite chart. So in astrology, the composite chart tells us about the entity, the relationship, what the relationship themes are, how the relationship will unfold, what kinds of conflicts may arise, things like that. And so the composite chart is an incredible chart to look at for the nature of a marriage and how that marriage may unfold. And so I wanted to take a look at that in light of Taylor's most recent engagement. And if you would like your own personal reading, you can head on over to my store. The link is in the description below. We are currently holding a 25% off sale. So book that before it's gone. If you want a Synastry reading, birth chart reading, future spouse reading, I do all of those for Synastry, a relationship or somebody you're dealing with. And the future spouse reading is great if you're single and you're just wanting to look for love. When is my person coming? What are they like? That's what the future spouse reading does. In all of my readings, I use astrology and tarot to answer your questions. So let's take a look at what's going on here. So we don't have a birth time for Travis Kelce. So the composite chart in this case doesn't actually have any house placements. So this is going to make it a little trickier to get as specific as possible, but we can still take a look at the signs and the aspects between the planets. So looking at their Synastry chart, they have a Scorpio stellium. And so they have the sun in Scorpio conjunct Pluto. This is a very, very powerful placement for a couple to have as a unit. It means the relationship is going to be very, very transformative, very much a before and after. It's also a very power couple energy. Scorpio itself is already quite a strong sign for for composite charts. I actually really like to see Sun in Scorpio, Venus in Scorpio, etc. In composite charts, because it means that as a couple, the couple's very ride or die. There's a little bit of an addictive or obsessive quality to the relationship that can really hold a couple together for the long haul. Scorpio also really just adds that sense of I want to merge with you. Scorpio is the natural ruler of the 8th house, which is the house of joint finances and intimacy. So it indicates that the relationship may move pretty quickly, or that there is a sense of I trust you. I might even trust you with my money. I might trust you with the most vulnerable parts of my life. A Sun-Pluto conjunction, this is a powerhouse. And this comes back to a lot of the allegations of are they a public relations couple? Is that really real? Was it real? Was it fake? The Sun-Pluto conjunction indicates that these people are not unaware of the strength of being together. And I think that those are not two individual facts. I think that is it a public relationship versus, are they going to get married, are one and the same. I think that they both understand that coming together creates a very, very powerful statement and that they are stronger together. A Sun-Pluto conjunction indicates that they can dominate together. They can dominate spheres of influence anywhere they go. They will draw attention anywhere they go. They are the power couple. The Sun-Pluto conjunction is great for building things together, empires together, dominating things together, even going into business together for real estate or just big, we're sharing money and we're making billions kind of vibe. And obviously they are both very, very, very marketable. They both have very strong individual brands. Coming together is just, it's a field day in the advertising department. It's a field day in the business department, and they are not unaware of that. The Sun-Pluto conjunction also indicates that the relationship will go through massive tests. However, Pluto makes intensity, transformation, and upheaval kind of like a rainy day, like a normal Tuesday for them. So I do think that this is a relationship that is not without its pressures, and yet it is because of those pressures that the relationship succeeds and intensifies. The Sun-Pluto conjunction also indicates, especially because Mars is also in Scorpio, that there is a tenaciousness in the relationship and a strategic, cunning nature to the relationship. So even though they might seem I think she put in her post, your English teacher and your gym teacher are getting married, that's on purpose. They're branding themselves. Taylor on her own is very strategic. She has a Mars in Scorpio natally, and she also has Pluto her Mars and Pluto are co-present. They're both in Scorpio. And I believe that, I think Travis has Venus conjunct Pluto in Scorpio. These are two people who are very cunning and strategic in different ways. I think that the idea that Travis Kelce set his sights on Taylor just because she's really pretty is naive. And I think that Taylor is aware that a large reason why Travis is interested in her is because she's very powerful. But, based on Travis's natal birth chart, he really enjoys powerful women and he enjoys being the best, right? He has, that I think it's a moon in Sag, there's an endless curiosity and desire to do better and bigger and bigger and bigger things. And what is bigger and bigger and bigger than Taylor Swift, right? So there's like definitely, a desire to be the best together. And they really feel that in each other. So, I do think that, comparatively to Joe, I think Joe might have really discouraged a lot of Taylor's like intense desire to constantly win and not be able to like let things go, versus I think Travis really encourages it. He's like, do it, like be a bad bitch, like go for it, let's do it bigger, let's do it better, let's do something huge together. And again, Scorpio it's very calculated. So I do think that a big part of their relationship is their business, is their brand, is, what are we creating together? What legacy are we leaving behind? Who do we want to become? And I think that Travis is really comfortable with the upheavals and crises that can come with a high profile relationship. And I think that that's a really big part of the relationship itself. Then we also have this Sun-Mercury conjunction. So Sun-Mercury is good in the sense that it indicates that there is a lot of conversation in the relationship. However, with Pluto involved, I would say that I would advise this couple to think about how we may be withholding information from each other. A Sun-Pluto conjunction can eclipse things and hide things, make them come out many years later. And a Mercury-Pluto conjunction can indicate that there is strategic communication going on. Both parties could be keeping certain secrets. It could also indicate that the relationship came about in a time where both people were going through major upheaval and kind of saw each other as an opportunity to alchemize or transmute that upheaval. And so there is almost a desire to like prove a point of like, I'm successful, I'm the best, I can surmount obstacles. And sometimes in that desire to surmount and to be the best, there can also be a desire to hide things from each other. So it's really important for these two to be aware that both parties may be keeping certain secrets for their own benefit. There is a little bit of a manipulative or cunning nature to Mercury in Scorpio conjunct Pluto and conjunct the Sun. It could also mean that as a couple, they are quite cunning. So you guys are not really going to find out if they're having trouble in paradise. There is also the whole like, feeling of like, is this a public relations relationship? It comes from the very calculated nature of their relationship. So there is a calculated nature that is apparent when these two enter a room, because there's just something that feels a little too strategic. Even when it comes to their engagement, they both go on this podcast together that is his brother's podcast, I think. And there's like it's like setting that business up. And then it's like, I'm going to give you the exclusive and I'm going to build this up. And then the engagement happening just a few days or that same day or a few days prior, even if Taylor wasn't privy to the exactitudes of when he would propose, I would definitely say that Taylor knew he was going to propose. He needed to have picked out a ring or something. There was likely conversations being had about this. And I do think that, they got engaged and Travis puts out an Abercrombie line, like, they make a post that becomes like one of the most liked posts ever. Like they know this, right? Like Taylor has been in the game, in the business, in the public for a very, very long time. And they are both very well-versed professionals in what it means to navigate being a very powerful couple in the public eye, and they are not opposed to strategizing and hiding and framing things in a certain way to benefit themselves or the brand. But it also means that they are capable of doing this to each other. So there may be certain truths that may come to light later on about the true intentions of what's going on beneath the surface. This doesn't necessarily mean that they can't trust each other or that the relationship will fail, but it does indicate that business, intimacy, and like power is a very big focus of the relationship with each other as well. And so there may be some subtle power plays that were hidden that then come to light later on in some capacity. Now, these Scorpio placements don't seem to be in conflict with the rest of the chart, so I don't think that this is going to be something detrimental or destructive, but we are dealing with malefics here. Pluto is a malefic, and Scorpio is one of the more karmic or difficult signs. And when you have this many placements there, the sun, which is the heart of the relationship, the light of the relationship is hidden. It's eclipsed, and it is in the shadow of two malefics, Mars and Pluto. So there is a large part of the relationship that will deal heavily with, two very smart people who are smart in different ways, who like to be the best and succeed at all times. That is going to come out of that, right? When you have two powerhouses together, there's going to be a little bit of power games or some hidden things going on. The other thing is, they have this Venus at 29 degrees of Sagittarius. So Venus at 29 degrees, it's the anaretic degree. It means that this is a relationship with a lot of urgency. The sun being conjunct Pluto and Venus at 29 degrees, this is a relationship that is extremely, extremely important, powerful, like life-changing, like absolutely life-changing. And it has been, it's been life-changing for Travis and life-changing for her, not just beyond the whole, falling in love with someone, but like them being together has revolutionized both their brands and amplified their energy 10 times. And from a romantic perspective, it's a high-stakes romance. This is something where it's like big wins, big losses if this doesn't work, right? And I don't think that either of them are oblivious to the magnitude of the pressures of like, if I'm in, it's going to be disastrous if we ever try to get out of this. Venus in Sagittarius indicates that the relationship has a lot of whimsy to it, a lot of adventure to it, a lot of fun to it. The relationship finds its joy through traveling, through learning together, through teaching each other things, through being different and expanding each other's perspectives and worldviews. Venus here is squaring the moon. It's a little bit of a wide square, but it's squaring the moon. Venus square moon indicates that there is a lot of affection and effusiveness in the relationship, but it also indicates that at times, especially with the moon in Virgo, one or both of them may perform affection or warmth when they're actually kind of in their head or worried. The moon in Virgo indicates that the emotional nature of the relationship is actually a little tiptoey. So both of them, again, the moon is being ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is conjunct Pluto, so they may hide things from each other. That's something that's coming through pretty strongly in this chart, is almost like a sense of like, if there's worries on either party, they may withhold that information from each other in an attempt to not sway the boat, or in a sense of like, well, I don't know if I want to say that because then I might, when we're dealing with Scorpio, we're dealing with like a fear of loss or fear of like losing power. So there might just be a sense of like, say if Travis is thinking that Taylor might be upset, he might not just tell her she's upset or ask her. He might think, okay, why would Taylor be upset? So there's an analysis going on. And then he starts like thinking about what Taylor might be upset about. And then instead of asking her or letting her know that he noticed, he might just devise a plan to fix it. Or to maybe, like, let's say, for example, he felt like Taylor's having doubts, or Taylor's feeling a little distant, or suddenly he catches a vibe that that Taylor might want something or something. And so then he will just kind of think, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take her out to this place. I'm going to bring this conversation up, or I'm going to say this joke to kind of get her to lighten up. And so a Moon in Virgo as a couple, when it comes to their marriage, it means that they're both very proactive in fixing the relationship. There's a little bit of analysis that's constantly happening on like, how do they feel? There's kind of like an awareness of like the other person and what they may or may not want. And on the one end, it's really good in terms of anticipating each other's needs. However, because the ruler moon of the Moon in Virgo is Mercury, and it's conjunct Pluto, it's conjunct the sun, and the moon is squaring Uranus and Neptune, this can create a lot of discomfort with instability in the relationship that can border on like codependency, or like a tendency to pretend that things are okay. Mainly because Neptune can make things, can kind of hide things and make things fuzzy. And when the moon is squaring Neptune, this can lead to like little white lies or situations where we're hiding our feelings to make the other person feel better. And the square to Uranus indicates that there is a deep discomfort with like emotional instability in the relationship. And so when there is emotional instability, there can be a tendency to pretend it's not really happening, to kind of keep the peace, which then kind of just creates this like low grade tension in the air. They also have the moon squaring Venus. So again, like this is about them sometimes performing that they're okay. Venus and Sag could just be like making a joke or pretending that things are okay, maybe planning a trip or like making some big show of affection, right? Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, so it's like really generous and big, and both of them have, you know, sun and Sag, moon and Sag. So they're both like they're big thinkers. They want to do big things. They like to show off, or like really kind of go for it when it comes to showing their love. But the moon squaring it could sometimes mean that at the same time that they're having like really big events or like big things that they're doing, even during this engagement, there could be reservations that they're not really sharing with each other, that may be happening beneath the surface at times. We also have their Venus, Uranus, Neptune, and Saturn conjunction, opposing Jupiter and Chiron in Cancer. This indicates that there's wounding around home and family that is going to be triggered together. This is a placement that Taylor has natally. Her moon also opposes all of these generational planets in her own birth chart, and this is the crux of their T-square and their synastry. So there is a lot of kind of back and forth when we're dealing with oppositions. We're dealing with a balancing act. There is a desire to balance this desire for home and family, but also like insecurities around how home and family may intervene with career. They also have the North Node in Aquarius together in their composite chart, which means that their mission as a couple is to work as a team and to create harmony and a collective connection through their relationship, which obviously a lot of different people have come together as a result of their marriage or their engagement, unlikely groups of people, right? So she has been able to instill herself in a new population and a new target audience because of Travis Kelce's background as an NFL player. And then he has also gained success and opportunity in a completely new sphere of influence in his own life, you know, through social media or, the entertainment industry in ways that he probably wouldn't have been able to without her. And so with the North Node in Aquarius, this is about, connecting through differences and also creating a lasting impact through the connecting of different communities. But also this is something that Taylor has natally. She has a North Node in Aquarius, and she will be going through her nodal return next year. So it does seem like Travis is a pretty big part of that North Node return. She also has a natal Venus in Aquarius, so I do think that Travis might be kind of a culmination of a long-standing karmic soul development theme for her in learning about the different facets of herself through, varying relationships with men of many different kinds. But also, her Venus North Node co-presence speak to the way that love has really inspired her collection of works, in art, in music and stuff like that. So I do think that there is something about Travis that really will inspire her to maybe create some sort of crowning jewel or something that really consolidates and creates a really coherent connection between all of her previous albums. And obviously her albums have dealt with like varying relationship themes, and they were about many different people. So I do think that with the North Node in Aquarius, they just got engaged. I'm assuming maybe they probably will get married within a year. That would be pretty telling. If they were to get married around her nodal return, it really would make sense in terms of like, the completion of some sort of karmic cycle. It would also indicate that he is part of some sort of major karmic cycle in her own personal soul development. They also have like I mentioned, that Sun-Pluto conjunction, which indicates that a big part of this relationship is meant to create drastic identity transformation for both of them. And I think the North Node in Aquarius really speaks to that in terms of highlighting how we can come together through our differences, which it was actually one of the conflicts of their synastry. Is like there is, they do have a major T-square in the middle of their chart, which really highlights this sense of like they definitely don't perfectly align with one another. And I don't want to say perfectly in the sense that like, you have to be perfectly compatible with someone to make it work, but rather that I do think that, for both of them, they're very, very different from their usual types for each other. Even though most recently I did see that Taylor Swift talked about like how everything that Travis and her have been through is like everything she's been writing songs about for years on end. I do think that in general, like Travis is not like her usual type. She does have a Venus in Aquarius, which means she might be a little more open to dating people of who are very different from her, but also in general, Venus in Aquarius, and then like also her sun in Sag and her moon in Cancer tells me that she definitely resonates with people who are a little eccentric and different and maybe a little pretentious or intelligent. And Travis doesn't typically fit that vibe. So I do think that is actually a major point of their chart with the Sun-Pluto conjunction, is like there's a massive shift or transformation or, before and after from getting together, but also the North Node in Aquarius really pushing them to learn how to work together as teammates, and complementing one another with their own differences and strengths. Okay, so currently there's actually eclipses happening in the Pisces Virgo axis, which is activating their natal moon in Virgo. So I do think that they are currently going through some releasing of the past. So even though I do think that Taylor is excited to get married and so on, I don't know that she's fully over Joe or fully over her exes, because with the moon in Virgo as a couple, there does seem to be preoccupation is one of the trademarks of their relationship, is like both of them maybe having some tension or anxiety in the background of the relationship that they don't really talk about. And with the South Node there, it could indicate that there are still strings from the past that are weighing on the relationship to some degree. And there's going to be another eclipse coming up later this in September like 7th, and then another one September 21st, which will be activating this axis again. So I don't know that this will be apparent to the public, but I do think that they have been, personally going through a period of like letting go of the past in order to clear more emotional resonance in the relationship for both of them. And so, yeah, I think that's all that I'm saying for them, though. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next one.